unhoused foster kids, like how many of them are there at a time?
Like at a shelter?
Yeah.
I don't have the number for you, but there's quite a bit, and they can start at age 4 and go up.
So 4 to, like, when do they, like, at 18,
for-
are you an adult? And
4 to 18. The current need for homes are therapeutic homes that understand some of the
I
behaviors
need one of those too. myself, yeah.
that may come up, and also teenagers. Teenagers seem to be super scary for people, but
I
they
have one of them.
yeah.
That's why I have 2 of them, but only one lives with me. The other one's gone.
But that's really where the biggest need is right now. But overall, there's always a need for homes. Our
infants,
homes,
we hear a lot about infants, that
Yeah.
there's a large number of infants that come into care. When we had our first foster baby, she was only 6 months old, and they called us 2-3 times for more babies because there weren't enough homes. I've heard that they go through our infant bags for the replacement bag drive like that.
Yeah.
They're sent out because there's that many babies coming into care.
I would also say the other thing is sibling groups.
Mm-hmm.
Their sibling groups come into care, and there's not always enough homes to take the full group.
Because they
siblings.
prefer to keep them together.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Yeah.
So where do they, like, when you say shelters, where are these shelters at?
Around Erie County.
All over?
Mhm.
And like the normal shelter houses,
Yes.
how many?
I don't know the numbers on
And
that
it's
one,
not
yeah.
like a separate shelter necessarily.
No, you're right.
They try, I think, to keep the children away, but I mean, it's the shelters that adults are living in.
It's like a mission?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
All over the place.
Mm-hmm.
400 years.
Right,
that's a lot.
but the best place for a child to thrive is in a family setting.
Right.
Sure.
So that is why there is a real push for more family type
Mhm.
settings for these kids.
So what's the average time between they check in and they get in with a family?
That's a loaded question.
That is a lot
I'm
of
good at those.
That's okay. It just takes a little more explaining. They want it to be quick. The goal is for it to be only a few months and they're in a permanent situation, but that isn't a lot of times the case. Legally, they have to start pursuing something permanent by 12 months. 12 to, 20 months?
That they've
15,
been somewhere
12 to
for that
15.
long?
Yes. So,
Okay.
for example, my daughter that I adopted, she was in our care for 15 months, and at that point, they began pursuing adoption rather than sending her home with her biological parents. Because by law, once a child has been in one place, I believe, for that long, foster care is a temporary thing. So they have to pursue something permanent, whether it's reunification, finding a family member that they can live with. So they like it to be short, as short as possible, because the longer it goes, the more detrimental it is to the children.
To leave, because you've moved in with this foster family
Correct.
and starting to feel like mom and dad and brother and sister, and then you've got to go somewhere else.
Correct.
Sure.
But I mean, the goal of foster care is reunification
Right.
with the biological
Mhm.
family. That is always the
Okay.
number one. That is the number one goal.
Yes.
Is that they want to.
And that's why they
reunify
want
with
it
the
done
family.
quickly.
Yes.
Because while they're away from their biological family, they're losing that bond with them. So they want it to happen quickly so that they can resume their regular life with their family. So
Does that happen a lot, that they get to go back with their regular family?
it does happen. I don't know the stats as to if it's a lot, but
I don't know the stats,
Okay.
but I mean, the goal is reunification, or what they call, like Alyssa mentioned, family. So family is considered kinship. So if you ever in the foster care realm and hear the word kinship is that biological family, just on maybe not mom and dad.
Grandma, grandpa, aunt,
Correct.
uncle.
Correct. And Foster Erie also works with kinship families. So not only do we work with licensed foster families, we also work with family services who licenses the kinship families.
Gotcha. And then you guys are going to tell your personal story?
sure,
Sure.
go ahead. Yours is longer.
So I have an adopted daughter who is 3. She was through a private adoption. That is how we kind of entered this realm. But we started with her adoption and working with her biological mom, and I I really appreciated that relationship, and I wanted to do more for the community. And after learning that kind of avenue of things, so my husband and I decided to pursue foster care. We are, I believe this is year number 3. We have had, 7 or 8 kids come through our home. We currently have one that we are going to be adopting. She's 4. But we also have another kiddo who is a year, and she is reunification is the goal for that. Wanted to do more, and so got involved with Foster Erie as well, as we continue to learn the need in our community.
So what happens with the schooling? Let's say they were going to school over here and they move in with a foster family over here. Do they take them back to this school, or do they put them in the school closer to the family?
Well, currently they are trying to keep the children in the same school. So if that, yes, because the more transition, the more trauma it causes, and they don't want that. And so right now the goal is to keep them in the school and provide transportation. But that's one of the things when a child comes into care, that they look at where the foster family is. They would rather put the child with a foster family who is maybe in that same school district than one that is 45 minutes away.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So my husband and I have been foster parents for going on 5 years. We have only had 2 placements come into our home. So our very first placement was our now adopted daughter, Jazzy. And for years and years, my husband and I had talked about adoption. That was always something we wanted to do. And then friends of ours began going through the foster care process, and we kind of thought, okay, we would consider that. So we started, everything went smoothly, and we got our first placement. Like I said, she was an infant right from the hospital, and the goal was reunification for quite a time, and then, some things happened, and the goal was changed to adoption. So we adopted her 2 years ago, and then now we have a little foster baby who the goal is still reunification with him. But as Jess said, our initial goal was to be foster parents, and we love it, but I can only have so many children. So
how many total children do you have?
I have 4 children total, and Jess will put me to shame because she has more kids than that.
I have 6.
Oh, wow.
But so I have 2 biological, 1 adopted, and 1 foster right now. But I think once you have the heart for foster care, you want to do more and more and more. You want to help wherever you can. So that's what led us to the bag drive and what led me to Jess. And you find that there's such a need, and the kids are amazing, and they just need love, and you just want to do whatever you can to make sure they're successful.
Yeah, I will say something about that. When you meet the kids, there's a quote that says, once you know the name of a child, like, you can't go back. And so when you enter into this realm, something really crazy happens. You just can't help but fall in love with them, because they're just kids, and they're in this for no fault of their own.
Nothing that they have done.
Yeah, I've always coached since my kids were real little, and it's amazing how you kind of feel like you're partially adopting each one of them. And still to this day, when they're 19 and they see you out, and they still call you like Coach Bauer.
Yep.
I'm sure it's not the same level, but it's really cool.
No, it's relatable. No, that's good.
Well, thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Yep.